Hey everybody, welcome back to Vegas Weekly for Saturday, August the 13th, 2022. And I'm just annoyed as all get out. Well, not really. But today I'm going to talk about some of my pet peeves about Las Vegas. So stay tuned. Before I get started on this week's rant, I did want to acknowledge a dozen people, dirty dozen, that helped make this show possible. Our executive producers, our members. Thank you guys. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to run down like 5 pet peeves that I have about Las Vegas right now. Now, these aren't in any particular order. They're just in whatever random sort of order that I think of them as I'm doing this video. And the first one I'm going to talk about is corporate greed. And, you know, it wasn't so long ago, a year and a half or so ago, probably year even or so ago, that Las Vegas casinos and resorts were really struggling. Coming back from the COVID, still a lot of people very skeptical about travel. A lot of people staying home, being cautious, probably in many cases making a good decision to do that. And the casinos were all out there very sort of up front and center saying, hey, come see us. Come see us. Here, free room, free food, whatever. Come see us. And a lot of us came back. Some of us probably came back earlier than we should have. But we did. We came back. And we enjoyed the benefits of some of the easy comps, or at least the cheap rooms and entertainment. We endured some things along the way. We had minimal, shows, restaurants, a lot of short staffing in general. So we weren't getting the entire Vegas experience when we were having that sort of heyday of value in Las Vegas. But over the past 12 to 18 months, as more and more visitors have come back, and as the city has by and large almost completely recovered. Certainly the tourist traffic is back, I would say 99% or better than what it was before. We're still dealing with limited conventions and that sort of thing. And it's done a complete 180. It's like all of a sudden nobody cares. My comps have just evaporated in a few cases. And I'll give a big example. The biggest example I would say is Caesars. And I guess I could, trace that back to the takeover by El Dorado and a very different sort of corporate culture. But yeah, they've gotten really bad. And El Dorado, after taking over, they dumped all of the diamond lounges, which was a nice little perk if you were enough of a degenerate to become a diamond member. That went away. It had already been scaled back or made more and more difficult to access. But, it went away. But on a recent trip, I had one day that I played at all at one of the Caesars properties. And I think probably did about 300 or 400 tier credits. And generally 300 or 400 tier credits in the past had been enough to consistently see free room offers midweek at, I'll say, most of the Caesars properties. Certainly places like Flamingo, Harrah's, Bally's, Link, and on occasion Paris or Planet Hollywood. And I see absolutely nothing. I go on the Caesars website, and it is just a wasteland as far as any sort of comps. Again, I'm not claiming to be a high roller. I'm not saying that I have spent an enormous amount of money with these properties, but based upon my previous experience, it should be better than this. And at a time in which we're seeing 000 roulette, like that's a thing. to where 6-5 blackjack is now ubiquitous, to where we have to meet certain very specific requirements to earn a complimentary drink at the bar, to where there's, and this has been true for years already, but to where there's no really playable video poker anywhere on the Strip. And yet, this is what we're dealing with. And it really isn't just Caesars. I will say that up to this point anyway, I've had, continuing decent offers from MGM. They haven't really gotten any better. They may have gotten a little bit, I shouldn't say a little bit better. But I feel like there's still maybe a sense there that they're thinking they can develop my play and grow my account a little bit. And that has been the case over the last couple of years. That'll probably fade too. But again, it's basic entry-level rooms most of the time, very minimal sort of free play or, resort credit, that kind of thing. So, and what is resort credit worth? I mean, 90% of the casinos on the Strip, everything is at least about double what it's really worth, whether it's in the gift shop or the buffet or in a high-end restaurant. So, yeah, it's not the value it used to be. There's no question. And we all came back, and we're, building up your brand again. And yet it feels like we're getting screwed. So, hey, and it's not just the big properties. I've not felt much love and affection from some other properties that I've played at as well. And, it's like, a few years ago, you might have got a 2-for-1 room offer for a fairly minimal amount of play. And now, maybe they offer you something like 20% off. So, yeah, that's kind of getting on my nerves. All right, so now we're going to go from greed to weed. And this is probably quite a bit less bothersome to me, but I've never been a big fan of marijuana, personally. I have no problem if you are. I entirely support legalization and decriminalization and all of those kinds of things. And I'm glad that Las Vegas is a place that has opened that up and created an environment in which those people that want to indulge can do so. But I hate the frickin' smell of weed, okay? I don't want to smell it in the hallway. I don't want to smell it on the pedestrian walkways. I don't want to smell it when I'm walking down the streets or in the casinos. I don't like it. It smells worse than tobacco smoke. I'd rather sit next to someone that's been smoking a cheap cigar, okay? I just don't like it. It's a personal thing. You might like it. I mean, to me, that really skunky smell is the sign of just this really crappy frickin' weed anyway. It should smell better than that, at least. And I don't like it. So sue me. So, there you go. From greed to weed, something else that's kind of a pet peeve. Okay, so my third pet peeve, it doesn't really exactly rhyme with greed and weed, but it's close. It's fees. And we've been dealing with fees in Las Vegas for a long time. Of course, the most famous are the resort fees. And they've been around so long, we're almost used to them. We almost don't even complain about them anymore. But it's not just resort fees. There are fees popping up for everything. Parking fees are a thing because, other than a handful of casinos, everybody thinks that you should have to pay for the privilege of coming into the casino to lose your money. I don't think so. But they do. There are like all kinds of fees being tacked on to rooms. When I was at Sahara last month, I kind of reviewed my bill before I checked out. And the bill included a housekeeping gratuity. And, again, I always pretty much tip the maids before I leave the room. If I haven't tipped them during my stay, in many cases that's because I haven't asked for any sort of housekeeping while I was there, I always leave a gratuity, even if it's a crappy little motel somewhere. But there it was. They had tacked a housekeeping gratuity automatically onto my bill. And I have seen situations where they have tacked on an automatic gratuity onto people's restaurant bills. And I guess, again, I don't have a huge problem with the gratuity thing, but I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting that a gratuity means that I personally decide what I'm going to give someone, and it's above and beyond the basic price of the meal or the room. Not that it's going to be tacked on without my really knowing it. And there were these, CFS fees? I can't even think what they were called. There have been, you got to just watch, because anytime you get a bill in Las Vegas, they tack these weird fees on. I don't know what they even are. Sometimes you have to ask. Sometimes you can have them taken off. But it's just not honest. If those fees are a cost of doing business for the restaurant or the hotel, then they should be included in the price of the hotel. I get the resort fee thing. I don't even care about it anymore. But give us back free parking and make the cost of the room be what it is, period. It's my pet peeve. Okay, so today's second to last pet peeve is scams. And they're all over the place. You're constantly having to deal with people that want to scam you one way or another. And I'm not even talking about the sort of honest sort of performers on Fremont Street that have a tip jar out. That's fine, whatever. But, how many visitors are being intimidated into giving these showgirls $20 or $50 a piece after they've taken a picture with them because they thought maybe that was just a free thing. The same thing with all the costume characters. And it's got to the point where you can't even really engage any stranger on the Strip. Or really downtown, I guess, either. If anybody approaches you, tries to give you anything, you have to push away, because they're not really giving you anything except a headache. And they're going to put pressure on you to give them money. And in some cases, you're going to feel sort of intimidated because of the person and the situation, and feeling like you have to give them money. And that's completely outside of the timeshare scams and, all of those kinds of things. And just people that prey on folks. And they don't typically prey on me. They probably don't typically prey on you because you're aware of this. But, it annoys me that there are people being ripped off in Vegas, and they're probably thinking, well, I don't want to go back here again. It's a sleazy, seedy place where people are going to try to take my money and not give me anything. So, the scams, big pet peeve. Okay, so my final pet peeve today is completely unfair and ridiculous and has, there's nothing Las Vegas could really do about it. Well, maybe there's something Las Vegas could do about it. I don't know. But it's not really anybody's fault. And it's just, I get frustrated personally with just how much time it takes to get from point A to point B. And that's the case whether I choose to walk it, whether I choose to try to find a cab or a ride share or a bus or whatever it may be to take me there. But so often in Vegas, I just feel like half of my time is just spent trying to get from one place to another. And, maybe, like I said, maybe, could have some sort of high-speed public transit system that just buzzes you around conveniently. And, of course, it's a really big place. I mean, not compared to a lot of other cities, but, yeah, I mean, I just want to like be able to walk out the front door of Mandalay Bay and then walk in the front door at the D without spending 45 minutes or an hour trying to figure out how to get there. And yeah, it's a completely unfair pet peeve, but my feet complain about it, and so I figured I'd complain about it too. So, what are some of your pet peeves about Las Vegas? Did I cover them today? Or do you have some things that you'd like to share? If you do, then please leave them in the comments below. Appreciate your tolerance this past week when we did not do our regular podcast or our regular weekly Vegas tips and tricks show. They will be back next week as usual. And of course, we will be back next week with another episode of Vegas Weekly. And until then, I hope that you have a great, lucky, and healthy week. We'll see you all again real soon. Bye-bye.